engaged. So it means you have to turn on your picture. If it starts interfering with your bandwidth or something, then we might be able to give you permission to turn it off. But we'd like this to be interactive and have you take away something out of it, and that means you get to participate. Everybody okay with that?
Well, yes.
Okay, there we go.
Everybody, if possible, try to switch on your cameras. It's a small group right now. It doesn't matter if you're not looking your best. Don't worry about it.
I worked all afternoon to try and get the lighting right in this room and couldn't. So you have to put up with me without good camera lighting.
No, I think it's perfect.
All right.
Hi, Vidula, Shruti, Katha. I get to see all of you finally.
All right, we're going to get started here. So now, what this next session is about leadership, and how why you were the best person, why you were the best person to lead the change that you want to bring about in the world. So we're going to do some interactive things. Before we started, I'll just say that we talked about leading with pride. I'll give the plug for leading with pride here. It's a leadership development program that is focused on helping minorities find their leadership voice. We focus right now at this point mostly on LGBTQIA, but we've had several allies that have gone through this and done quite well. We've had some people with different abilities go through and with some neurodiversity and have all done quite well. In the not too distant future, hope to be able to make it in multi-languages and start customizing it for specific groups. So that's how I met Pragati, and we've been good friends ever since. And that's a little bit about leading with pride. If you want to get involved, you can send an email to me at dwight@leadingwithpride.com. Great. So the first thing I want you to do, and I don't want anybody to get too deeply into this, but I would like to have you each think about the 3 most painful moments in your life. Don't think about them so much that you have to leave the meeting or anything like that. And I want to be respectful. Some people in this group probably have been through some pretty traumatic things, and many of us have. But just think, and you can write them down on a piece of paper if you want, but list them in your head without thinking about them too much. Just what are the 3 most painful things that happened to you? We'll give you each a minute, and give me a signal when you're done. Let's use the little, let's use the technology, and you can do the reaction thing and put your thumb up like I just did on mine when you think you've got your 3 most painful things. Okay. So they don't put mine back up. All right. Everybody kind of good? You got your 3 most all right. So now I want you to think for a minute, and if you look at those three things, what does it want you to, what do those three things want you to change about the world? Okay. What would you have to change about the world to make those things not happen to somebody else? Anybody want to share that? It's your passion for change. What would you, anybody want to share theirs? Marudala?
Well, I've never really thought about what I would change, but if I would use something to change. So my thing was that like I had an injury when I was 10 and went through a lot of surgeries for that. And it was all under the like all of the doctors were telling me that, oh, you're gonna get better, it's gonna get fine. Like it was to my eye, so like it was for my vision. So they all came under the assumption that, oh, you're gonna regain your vision. That like that's how they spoke to me. That's how they put it. And then like 4 years later, like 4 years and 7 surgeries later, it became obvious to me that it's not going to happen, that like I'm not going to get 100% of my vision back. And like I did a lot of like introspection of like that I don't mind it, but they did not. Like they were like, oh, here's another procedure that will only marginally improve your vision. And like, so that really got to me because I didn't want to just spend my life like, oh, but we can try this robot technology or something maybe when you're 18 now, because it wasn't like fully developed then. But like they were like, oh, we're researching it and stuff. And it was really dehumanizing for me. And like, so I feel like if there's anything I would change about that, it would be in like that maybe the medical field shouldn't try to like push so much ableism, I guess, into it.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you a couple of questions. I like how you framed that. Is that in the medical system that is has this whole system, the whole value system of people are sick, I have to use the best technology I can to make them well. You know, that along in that came this idea that their job was to make you see better, and in doing that, they took a lot of risk, and they didn't show you the respect for you to be able to manage that risk yourself. And so they ended up kind of experimenting on you. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, it certainly seemed like that, at least by surgery 7. Like the first 3 seemed pretty necessary, but then like after that, it was just like.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I thank you deeply for sharing something so personal. Just hearing that from you, it gives me another piece of data in my head to advocate, and to be sensitive to. Anybody else want to share what they came away with? Okay. Shruti Sharma, did I get it right?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this was painful. Like I just have one thing in my mind which has happened to me before, and I still really feel strongly about it, is the job culture that's been going on in our country. So I don't know about your country, but what happens in our country is that there is a certain gap between this boss and employee relationship that happens here. It's like what a job is to me is that we offer our services or our expertise in something in return of salary or money. But what happens in this country is that the bosses feel that actually they are doing a favor by paying you. And the reason is that in India, there is such cheap labor that you can get. And people are expert in everything. They're good at everything. But because of their financial conditions, this cheap labor is really available. It's abandoned in our country. Like you can find cheap labor anywhere and everywhere. Like so they don't care about your expertise. They don't care about your time, your efforts. So what happened to me was I was working in this music school 3 years back, and I was the publicist. I was the video editor and designer of that school, and I was also teaching Hindustani classical music because I am a musician also. So back then they offered me to live in an apartment which was nearer to the school because I used to live really far from that place, my workplace. So I accepted their offer, and they were like, you don't have to think about the security money. You don't have to think, you have to just take a room, pay the rent of that room, and then just stay there. And apparently they were taking those apartments just to store some of their stuff. I'll say some, quote unquote, some, because you'll know what will happen next. So I just moved in there with all of my stuff blindly. I moved in there, and that apartment was full of things that can be thrown away or maybe bought again, should have been discarded. Decorations for, I don't know, pujas and all of that. And there was not even a space to stand there. Not just, I was being given to a room where full of nonsensical things were just there, and I was expected to be grateful because they offered me a room just to stay there. And then that happened. I revolted against it, and I told them that, you have to clear the room because I'm paying for that. So they were like, okay. They made faces. They were annoyed, but then they sent people after so many requests. They sent people just to clear that room. That happened. And then further than that, because they got annoyed that I revolted against them, they started harassing me in my workplace. Like, I don't know, for no reason at all, just scolding me in front of them. Everyone commenting on me, or maybe, backbiting behind my back, and all of that started happening. And I got to know about it, and I kid you not, I heard one of their conversations. My owners, the school owners, they were discussing this in their breakfast, that we are torturing Shruti right now. Whom should we torture next? I mean, I think we are done and dusted with her. Let's get someone else. This is their literal conversation when they're having breakfast, and how sad is that? So what I would really like to change the mindset of the owners or the company owners or whatever bosses they are, whatever bigger posts they are. If I'm giving my expertise, my time, my effort to your company, I think there should be a mutual gratefulness, because of course you're paying me, of course you give me the opportunity, but you're getting the service from me, and I think there should be a mutual gratefulness. It was such a bad situation that I was stuck in, that one more push and I would have been off the edge. Like, I went literal to depression because of that job, and my parents had to pull me out of that city and bring back to my hometown just for me to get sane. So that was a pretty traumatic situation for me to be in, and pretty dark. So I would like to change the job culture in this country, because it's quite bad. It's quite bad.
Yeah. Hey, so what I just heard from you feel very passionately about how employees are treated, and that the abundance of labor can sometimes give people an excuse to disrespect the value of the individuals that work in their organization. And I kind of heard you, yeah, I'll just add, maybe this is adding a little bit, but I kind of heard there's two parts of this. There's just the respect you have as a human being, and then just any human being. And then there's a second part that they recognize the value that you're making, you know, and that this is a contract. It's not a, you're not a slave. It's not an indentured servitude. There's a contract there. And so I heard those two things, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
about that also, they were like, okay, I value what you're doing, but still we gave you the opportunity. You know, if you are not going to do the job the way we want, you know, you get replaced just by the minute. We will find another you, like just now by the snap of our finger. You know, that's what they think. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not correct. It's much more expensive. People don't realize it, but it's much more expensive to replace your employees than it is to keep them and develop them in general. Not to say that's not true in every case, but okay, great. So anybody else want to share? We have time for one more. Divya, did you have your hand up because you wanted to share? Great. So take a minute and just summarize, you know, what you take away from your 3 most painful moments.
Thank you for doing this, Dwight. This is really helpful. So the first two, so the first one is extremely personal. There's a sexual component to it. The second one was also a work-related thing. The third one was related to my school experiences. Essentially, so I identify as neurodivergent, which has put me in multiple situations where I was just essentially labeled different, so to speak. And there was a specific experience around grade 8 when I liked this. I had this particular sort of gravitation towards somebody in school, and this was an all-girls school. And I had a gravitation towards this person because they played basketball. I really liked that. So I liked them, and I talked about it, and the whole school essentially went into this. Like I was called a lesbian, and I was bullied for it. I mean, I'm absolutely fine being one, but back then it was apparently a thing. This was a while ago. Now that's just part of it, but what happened as a consequence was this whole sort of segmenting. Also, Shruti, part of what you said kind of brought that up for me, how when we are a little different, we are categorized as, you know, sort of segmented and sort of just put away. Right? That's the sense I got from your story. I felt that as well, just on account of being different. That as if I don't belong in the same spaces as you do, which means that things like having lunch, because there's something called a lunch period in school, which to this day is a traumatic concept for me, because I wouldn't have a place to sit down and have lunch. Yeah. I would wander around the entire school campus looking for a place to sit down and have lunch on my own, so that someone wouldn't come around and start teasing me just for being who I am. So I think the thing that I want to change the most in the school system is the lack of social education. You know, the children are taught to be academic and they are taught to learn concepts, but we are not. I mean, I understand that there's a component of learning it organically. Like when you just learn to interact with people and you learn how to be social through that. Nobody's denying you that. But there, if you're calling yourself a school, let there also be a learning element of how to be social and how to be decent and kind to those of us who don't look like us in the social constructs. I may have understood society a certain way. Let me be open to the idea that there are people who engage in another manner, perhaps. Yeah. These basic ideas are missing in school. And I do not want to speak for a country or for a region. I'm not sure how it works anywhere else. I can just speak from my experience. I just think in general, school would be a better experience for so many kids if this was included in the education. Emotional education, socio-emotional education, so important. We have to go through the labor of learning this at our own cost, through the trauma we accumulate, and then we go to therapy or become therapists. Wondering, wait, what was wrong with me? Let me just become one. Okay. So, yeah. So
okay,
that's,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. A lot of things that resonated to me in that. I would argue with you that not only would schools benefit, would people benefit from the broader inclusion, having inclusion and the value of inclusion and the embracing of differences be an important thing that schools should be teaching, but that it would help their students perform better going on in their life. You'd see more contribution in their companies. And there's a whole big discussion, which you probably know better than I do, about what's the future of schools, and maybe you'll be part of that discussion. So thank you to the three of you for sharing those painful moments, and I want you to think for a second about much of your life. You have thought that the problem was you. You come to a point in your life when you suddenly have the ability, you're growing in your cognitive ability, you're growing in your awareness of the world, and you come to the ability to realize that it's not you, it's the world. You blame yourself for a while, but you grow out of that, hopefully, or you at least begin to realize there's still times probably when you're down and low that those old tapes play in your head. But bottom line is you have the cognitive awareness now to realize that should not have happened to you. Okay. And so I want you to think for just a minute about who can articulate that to the larger process of change, to the world. Who can articulate that better than you? All of you, even those of you who didn't share your experience, think about that passion for change that's been created from that, those moments in your life, and how, think about somebody who doesn't have that understanding that you do about them trying to lead it versus you trying to lead it. Wouldn't you be right there saying, no, you're not doing it right? You got to remember this, you got to remember that. There's very, very few people that have, if anybody, that have that understanding that you do. And once you realize, as you should, in my opinion, that it's not you, it's the world, then you have an opportunity to make the world better. And so think about that for a minute. Now I want you all to think about the 3 best times in your life. Take a minute and write down the 3 best times in your life. And it would take a minute for you all for a couple of you to share those 3 best minutes. And it's fine if it's somebody else that wants to share those 3 best minutes, or it's fine if any of the 3 of you want to share your best minutes.
I can think of only one right now, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Like in the first year of my undergraduate, I did this play. Okay, like I didn't do it. Like one of my seniors directed a play. It was a full like student production, and I had like I've watched plays in my life and stuff. Like that's fine, but that was the first time where I decided that I'd go backstage and like I'd pitch in for the production and give my time. And I didn't know anything about like how a play is made. But then like because we were a really small college, like I had to do a lot of work, and it was very fulfilling because I just went to college. Like I was essentially a child before that, and I still am very young. But that was the first time where someone is like, you have this responsibility and you have this like obligation to do things, and like things depend on you. And when the play was staged, it was only staged once because like no time and no budget. But like right after the staging, that applause that the audience gave us, like that gives me warmth, like even when I think about it now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to share theirs? Go ahead, Shruta Sam. I'm struggling with your name, Shruta Sharma. Did I get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's great.
Well, you're very forgiving to say I got it, but thank you.
That's okay. A lot of people have a really hard time pronouncing my name, but that's okay. So I have three in my mind, very distinctive moments in my life, which were the best times, I would say. I was an athlete back in high school, and I started training when I was 10 years old, and I still remember it took me a little bit of time to get the hang of it, running sprint races, 100 meters, 200 meters, and getting the speed, getting the stamina right. And I remember I was in my 7th grade, and it was a district level competition. And that was the first race that I won. And I could see all my seniors, all my juniors just standing up and clapping, because I didn't realize that I was almost 20 meters ahead from the one who came second. And they made a video of it, and they showed me that how fast I was. And just seeing that video, watching that video, really like give me. I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because I was really really fast. I'm not anymore. I'm a couch potato nowadays. But I that one race that I won was something a very, I don't know, say a defining moment for me, because back then I lacked confidence. I don't know. I'm an introvert too. I don't really open up so easily, but I got a sense of confidence after that, because okay, I can do something. Before that,
Yeah.
before that, I didn't really think that okay, I'm good at something, but I just joined because of fun. And so that was one moment that really defined my future life, the way I am now right now. And second
Thank
moment
you.
I would say was performing on stage for the first time as a musician with my band. It was in Bangalore, and there was this pub. I mean, it was a music venue, but it's also a pub called Phantom Gillies Redefined. And I performed for the first time with my band there. And the first song was just getting over, and the applause, just as Murdala said that, the applause that hit me for the first time, and everyone was hooting, and they really loved what we performed. And that applause, when it hit us, it was a moment that I would cherish for the rest of my life, because I plan to go big. I plan to go on bigger stages and bigger platforms and then perform for them. But that one first show and the one first audience applause that I got was the best moment for me. And the third, I would say, was finding out that I'm an asexual. Because before that, I just thought that something was wrong with me, something medically wrong with me. Because before that, I was like, this is something. I am a heteroromantic asexual. That means I have romantic feelings, but I do not have sexual feelings, and I didn't know how to distinguish between them. Like, I didn't know what's the difference. But at one point of time, when trying out a sexual activity, I just thought it's not happening to me. I'm something is putting me off, and I don't know what. There was a medical problem or something. But when I researched about it and found out that my orientation is a little bit different, and I have romantic feelings, but I don't have sexual feelings. So that moment was like a good moment for me, because I thought, okay, this is normal for me. I'm not crazy. I'm not weird. I'm a normal person. It's just that my orientation is different from some people. So yeah, those were the three best moments of my life.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, both of you, and thank you for being so deeply personal. So I'd like to move on. All of you who've thought about this in your mind, and those of you who've shared it, think for a minute that you, in most cases, not everyone, but in most cases, there's a relation between what gave us the most pain in our past and what gives us the most joy now. What I heard from in the two stories that were two people that shared both. In the first one was a situation where a person was not respected and not given responsibility to run their own life and make their own decisions, not giving the ability to make a fully informed decision. And that was somebody else made that decision for them. The most joyous was related to when they were given that ability, and not only the ability to make a decision for themselves, but for a group, and it was recognized. They were recognized for their ability to make that decision. It's fundamentally about respect and trust for individuals. But that's what I heard. Am I right? Do you guys see it? You see it? Yeah. And that was a prime example. And in Shrutashama, in your story, there was a similar theme, at least in two, and in the third, it was about empowering people through having the right words, the right understanding. But you have a similar situation where you're recognized for who you are as an individual, and given that autonomy and recognition for succeeding, and for having the value that you contribute being recognized. So I think the rest of you who didn't share that kind of can understand that your joy and your pain are often related. And getting the most joy out of life has something to do with making the world better in ways that you really understand. And that's why there's nobody that can make those changes better than you. There's a lot of information out there about leadership, and most of it is pretty good. And I'll borrow a phrase that Sheryl Sandberg coined and made famous, is that the starting point is the will to lead. Okay? And what you all that have compared this and have this realization now is you have the opportunity to lead. Now, and I also believe you'll have to decide this for yourself, that you have the will to lead. And that's a great opportunity. And it's not, you're not leading from the standpoint of you need to paint yourself better than others. That's sometimes people lead from that, is that I will be a success when I have this many people reporting to me. That's not where you're coming from. You're coming from, I will be a successful leader when I make a good change in the world, a change that makes life better for other people, in a lasting way, a change that makes people empowered. Okay. So with that, that's the little exercise. That's what I wanted to tell you. I'd like to take just, well, I want to have a few minutes. We got about 8 minutes left. So I want to make sure we end on time. But does that resonate with you? Does anybody want to you kind of feel that? I'll plug Leading with Pride because I sincerely think it's a great program. We have, we've made it a little more clear and added a little bit more since almost 2 years ago when Pragati took it. But we have 4 key pillars or 4 key principles that we focus on. The first one is know who you are, this strong sense of self. And those past experiences are part of what give you that sense of who you are. And the next one is to have a clear vision of change. That's what you just articulated to us, and to those of you who didn't participate, you spent a few minutes and articulated it to yourself. The fourth one is be aggressively open. So what that means is that you don't, the first thing is not how you appear to other people. The first thing that comes to your mind is not, am I going to be viewed as being something that the rest of the world wants me to be? The first thing that comes to your mind is, I need to make this change for me. I want to make this change. And the second thing then is you figure out, how can I make it? And that's where you're aggressively open. You always want to learn. You're always trying to connect with other people. You have deep empathy because the same pain that you experienced, other people are experiencing. Sometimes it's in different ways. Sometimes it's different, but every time you hear about and understand their pain, you know yours a little bit better. And it gives you more insight in how to make that change. And then the fourth pillar is to be relentlessly focused on action. What is that next little thing that you can do to help make that change? And we take people through a 6-week exercise or program where you meet every weekend, and then you have a lot of homework during the week. We really try and put a lot of material, a lot of transformation in there, but a 6-week program. And then in that program, you create a project. And at the end of the, about 4 months after that, 4 to 5 months after that, you complete your project and you get a certification. We do this with corporate sponsors. So that, and corporate sponsors supply us mentors. And there's a kind of a mentor back and forth situation, because the corporations do this because they want to build diversity leadership skills in their leaders. And so we match a mentor up that's a leader in this organization with a member of our group that fits somewhere along the LGBTQIA and allies group. And they get that experience. And then you complete to that certification, and we have a huge celebration, and you have a close pod, a close group of people that help you continue to go on and make the changes that you want in the world. I welcome you all to reach out to me, Dwight, at the website's in there. That's actually, the website's just a little bit broken. It's we have another leadingwithpride.org that we use to promote, but you can go to that site and you can also reach me at dwight@leadingwithpride.com. So welcome you to reach out, and we'll get you on our mailing list for the next session. It will be next year sometime. We haven't got that fully scheduled yet, but we'll get you on that list. Thank you. And anybody else, any questions or comments people want to make?
I just want to quickly add just a couple of statements vouching for the program. It is a great program, and this is coming from somebody who actually did the program. I don't know how much time people will have in the virtual world which we currently live in. I attended it in person. I don't know if Dwight is doing that anymore or not, but we'll be sending you all the links in the post-conference package after the 31st. Anyway, you'll get to read more about Dwight's work and the program, and feel free to then subscribe to them. All right, then, Dwight, it is time, and day 4 has come to an end. Again, from the entire team PanACEa, I thank you for your contribution and your support for Asexuality Asia conference. It's a landmark event, and I hope you're able to see how you've been a part of this larger movement. Everyone, thank you.
Have a great rest of the conference, everyone.
Thank you, Dwight. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
day, night, whatever is there happening. Yeah.
Have a good night, everyone. Hi, one of you is probably going to become the host soon.